From the banks of the Grand River, high above the gorge, this is the Buzzer Pod. New releases, industry insiders, out-of-the-box conversations, indie music. With guests from the true north, from the west coast to the east coast, and across the pond and down under. Now, here's Shay.
Hey, Shay here, On Air Indie, episode number 6. Welcome and enjoy. So, it's January 29th. What happened today in 2016? Well, 3 weeks after his death, David Bowie had 12 albums in the UK Top 40. The album Black Star was at its third week at number 1, along with Best of Bowie, Hunky Dory, and Ziggy Stardust. What a tribute to such a great icon. For today, we have a fantastic Main Stone UK indie pop jangly guitar band, The Shop Window. The band has had 3 successful singles prior to the release of Sad Eyes, which we will talk about on this show. We will also spin their January 29 release Out of Reach, premiered recently on BBC6 Music. This band is racking up the Spotify playlists and radio play, including BBC Radio London. Frontmen Carl Mann and Sid Oxley are joining us. Carl is vocal and guitars, and Sid vocal harmonies and keyboards for the band. Their musical history together started in the mid-90s. Today we are going to talk about that, get to know the band, and highlight current releases. Well, welcome, Carl and Sid. Thank you for coming on the show. It's great to have you.
Hello.
Hi, Shay. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you today?
Yeah, we're good, dealing with COVID on our side of the pond, and I'm sure you are your side as well.
Oh, yeah, we're all in that thing. But, music will survive. Yeah, and I think of a lot of great music is going to come out of us, and it always gets better.
Yeah, music will rock on. We'll rock on.
Yeah.
We'll come back stronger. Music will come back stronger, I think, especially in the live aspect.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I know I'm dying to go to a live gig, man. I can't, yeah.
I think everyone is. Yeah, we're dying to play and dying to watch bands again.
My husband and I had planned out the whole summer to go see the festivals, meet up personally with, because I do indie reviews, meet up personally with the bands I've been following and stuff like that. Whole summer was shot. March 11th. It's insane. But then again, let's move on and talk about something great. Can you guys tell me about the backstory of you guys meeting in early in the 90s?
Well, we first met. I literally put an advert in a local music shop. This was probably the age of 18. Wanting to form a band. It was music had become a religion for me from an early age, and I wanted to, the natural thing was I wanted to form a band, and I put an advert in the local music shop, and Sid answered, and we met up in the local pub, and we got on like a house on fire. I still remember what he's wearing. He had a Julian Cope t-shirt on and a kind of flat cap of some sort, but he looked cool, and we got on really well, and that was the first of us and getting together and getting to know each other in music, and then we formed a band over the next year, which was called West Pier, and it was probably only a year after that, Sid, wasn't it, when we got a record deal?
Yeah, it was all quite quick, if I remember. And it's weird because I remember one of those things where we were standing looking into a shop window, and there were TVs on, and we saw Sleeper on Top of the Pops, and I remember we were saying to each other, want to be like that. And it's ironic that we ended up getting signed to the same label as them.
Same label as Sleeper, yeah.
Yeah. So it's, it was a real journey, and it still is a real journey.
So from then, I guess that didn't all go to plan, the record deal. And after a couple of years, it all sort of fell apart. We had one single out through the label, but there was inner turmoil with other band members. But then we had another band, didn't we, after that, 1999, Tracking Farrago. until about 2005, which was kind of an indie pop Americana thing. And then after that, we sort of, went off to grow up a bit, I guess, and meet our lifelong partners and have children. And I moved to New Zealand for some time and married a Kiwi and had a child over there. And we moved back to England and we got back together and started making music again. And here we are with the shop window.
Well, you're making great music. And you're not the first band to come together through the power of adverts. I can name Bruce Springsteen and E Street, Duran Duran, Guns N' Roses, Kiss, and Joe Jett and the Blackhearts. You're in good company, guys. So you two have spent a lot of time together musically in terms of history. Has the sound changed over the years, or where you are yet now in your music, and how do you feel about that?
Well, I guess we started out, Sid, you know this, don't you? We sort of started out with being massive fans of similar music when we did Westpear, and
yeah, I think what we were listening to very much shaped that, and I think that was the kickoff, and that was the shared love of certain albums, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that kind of took the whole thing.
And I think where we are with the shop window now is that we've sort of gone full circle a bit, and we've gone back to those bands that excited us when we were about, when we were teenagers, like the Smiths and the Cure, and those kind of formative years when you're listening to music. We've sort of gone back to trying to make that music again and recreate that feeling that we got back then. And what we're doing now is probably the most honest and true and focused thing we've ever done, really.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. yeah, definitely.
Well, your song definitely has a vintage feel. So have you both always been interested in music? Was there some gig or performance you went to or song you heard that made you go, whoa, I need to do this. I want to do this.
Sid, you start with that one? Yeah.
I would definitely say so. I remember somebody giving me a Cure album, and that completely changed my whole life. And I think I also discovered a band called The at the time. And I think those two things lyrically was, for me, the big thing. They kind of spoke to me. And I think from that point onwards, it was kind of, I want to be in a band. What about you, Carl?
Yeah. Well, I think from probably the age of, this is like reciting my mother, probably from the age of 3 or 4, I became excited with the sound of an electric guitar. And that was because, in our house, they used to play, Mum and Dad used to play the Ventures and the Hollies and lots of stuff like that. And I still think the Ventures were the band that got me into that kind of sound of guitar, really. And I used to, apparently at 4 years old, used to sit around with 7-inch records spread everywhere. I couldn't read any of the labels, but I would put records on all day.
So not much has changed then, Carl.
No, nothing changed, really.
Oh, my word.
But when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be Adamant. So.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. That's awesome. What would be your dream project in music? World tour? Opening for a certain band?
Well, for me personally, I think it would be to create an album that lasts in time as a classic, and that's, held up in high esteem with classic songs. And I think that would be the dream for me. I mean, I love gigging and big performances and stuff, but to make something magical that will last forever, like, as recordings, you're decorating time. And definitely, if they last forever and you do something very special, that's the thing. That's the goal for me, to create something very special that lasts forever.
That's crazy. I love that. And Sid, what about you?
I'll buy that. I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I think, we're talking about albums that influenced us and that were part of our formative years. And I think, wouldn't it be nice if our album could be that for someone else? So, yeah, I'm with you, Carl.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you could pick one track that you've written and put out there for fans to listen to that had the most impact to you as either as a person or as a band, what would that be? Would it be your release of last year, Sad Eyes?
Well, like Sad Eyes specifically was a visit to see my grandmother, she's 104 now, and I actually saw her a couple of days ago. She's 104 and she's in a care home now. She lived on her own until she was 100, and she's an incredible woman, and she was a massive part of my childhood, and had quite a dark childhood and early years, and my nan was there and looked after us a lot. And she's always been very special. And so the Sad Eyes, the song, was sparked from a visit to see her in the care home about a year or so ago. And, you know, she's sort of obviously old now and can't hear so well. And it just touched me that couple of hours I spent with her, and in the car driving home, I just wanted to write it down. And as soon as I got home, you know, the natural thing for me is to grab a guitar and get a pen and paper, and that song just happened incredibly quickly, and you know, without even thinking about it, it was one that sort of came out of the back of the head rather than thinking about it too much. Yeah, I mean, that's not typical for me writing wise, but that was just one of those ones that was inspired by a moment, really, and a massive emotional important part of my life, that person.
Well, the video that was put out with it really shows a tribute to a wonderful lady. Like, her energy and her love of life definitely shines through. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it was amazing, actually. So, like I said, I went to see her a couple of days ago, and I took my son, who's 5 now, and obviously throughout this year of COVID and lockdown, she's not seen much of him. And he, you know, I talked to him a lot about her, and he saw her and she saw him, and her face just lit up. It was like the sky lit up, and the smile was the biggest smile you could see, and it was just wonderful.
That's amazing. The love of family inspired Sad Eyes. Where do you draw inspirations from for your music? Humanity, world events, political statements?
I think Sid, we sort of, for this album, it's been a natural thing, but we've drawn upon human emotion, really, and where we are at in humanity, and where we're possibly going, and where we failed, and what we might need to do. So we don't really get political, but we touch on maybe politics occasionally, but not in a political sense, in the fact that we're a political band and, you know, are strong in our message in that way, because I don't think we're educated enough to, or informed enough to, kind of have such a high opinion on politics. I wouldn't want to go down that route. But we touch upon things that us as everyday working class people see the world and humanity, and where we failed and where we want to go and what we need to do for our children, really.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Carl and I worked on one particular song called Disengage the Robots, and that I was kind of writing lyrics for that, and Carl was, and I think it was very much that idea of people kind of being plugged in, and seeing that as something that we've witnessed in our lifetime, you know, kind of people constantly plugged into phones and things, and I suppose reflecting on that with our own kids, because you kind of look at it and you go, whoa, this is a new world. So I think there's elements of that in there. It's kind of been looking at what we're seeing around us with maturer eyes than we had when we were doing this the first time round. And I think that's informed a lot of the lyrics that I've been involved with writing with Carl in particular.
Yeah, and I mean, the title of the album is The State of Being Human.
Oh, wow.
And so it, you know, that kind of has two ways of looking at it. Like, humanity is defined as the state of being human, but it's also looking at us as humanity and going, what state is humanity in?
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully it's just our kind of, it stamps in time our look of where we're at right now, and maybe where we need to go.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that sums that up really well. It's like we've thought about it, Carl.
I love that. I love that. A lot of thought went into framing this album concept. I'm really looking forward to the release. Are the band's songs solely written by you, Carl, or Sid, or are they co-writes? What is your creative process when building a song?
Yeah, we have done in sort of the latter part. I mean, a lot of the songs are songs that I'd had kicking around for a while, and when Sid got involved properly last year when we started recording, you know, I know what a great creative lyricist he is, so I wanted to give him some open doors and freedom to get involved with the lyrics. I mean, I've always enjoyed writing the melodies and you know, the guitar parts and the songs more, but I've less enjoyed lyrics. So when Sid got involved again properly last year, I know how much he enjoys that, so I wanted to encourage him to help out with some of the songs, finish the lyrics. And you know, I said this to him, and then 3 days later I had 30 pages of lyrics come through to me on email. And so it was like, oh, okay, I've got some stuff I can work with here, Sid. Yeah. And yeah, so, and then, you know, I might write a song and I'll be like, I've got, you know, half of it or 3 courses of the lyrics done. And I'll be like, Sid, can you know, do you want to have some input on this? What I'm trying to say is this, you know, see if you can finish a few lines here or there and see what you come up with. And, you know, so some of the songs on the album have been completed that way, where we've sort of collaborated on lyrics. Some of them are where, you know, I've literally got a sheet of Sid's whole lyrics and gone, right, I'm going to put something to this and we'll do something with that. And yeah, so it's been a bit of a thing like that, hasn't it, really, Sid?
Well, and there's been a couple of times when I've kind of sung a melody to you, and you've worked that into stuff.
A great one was one of my favourites on the album, actually. Sid messaged me one night really excited, and he's going, I've got this amazing chorus, I'm going to sing it down the phone to you. So he did and sent it to me, and I'm like, that is brilliant, but it's not a chorus, it's a verse. He's like, what? Sure? Like, yeah, it's a verse. Give me 20 minutes. And, you know, 20 minutes, I went away. I'd had a few drinks and I was feeling quite creative and went away. And I got back to him about 20 minutes and went, here's the chorus to your verse. And it's one of my favourite songs on the album, actually. It's called Ride It While You Can.
Yeah. I do think, though, that ultimately it's about it being the right thing. And I think that, you know, we're both big enough now to, you know, if Carl says that's not working, then I don't take it personally at all. You know, it's kind of, because all it's about is this, it's making it right and the best it can be. So, you know, we've worked quite a lot on lyrics, throwing bits out and just kind of working and reworking. And
it's the great thing about, I guess, us coming back to this together at a later day in life, where we're a bit more, we're sort of more experienced as humans, aren't we? And it's like, you know, Sid is a friend of mine for life, regardless of music. So the fact that we're doing this together again is just a massive bonus, and it's brilliant. It's like we're addressing unfinished business, so it is great. But, you know,
yeah, absolutely, it's kind of been quite a journey, really, you know. And it feels amazing to be talking to Carl every day about ideas, you know, and sending each other stuff and, you know, just bouncing stuff around, because you haven't done that really for 20 odd years. And it just shows that anything can happen.
I get that reconnection. And I think that's awesome that you two have experienced that. That's just incredible. Incredible. So is Sad Eyes going to be on the upcoming EP that's releasing this year?
No, it's, I mean, our single that's coming out in January was actually supposed to be coming out on November the 27th, which was when we released Sad Eyes. But the vinyl pressing plant had massive delays due to COVID, so that release couldn't happen. So Sad Eyes was like an 11th track on the album. So I spoke to the guys in the band and I was like, look, you know, this is the one that we feel maybe we should take off the album, but we all love it as a song. So let's stick it out as a gap filler on the 27th while we're waiting for the vinyl pressing for the next single. And we were amazingly surprised at the great response we've had to Sad Eyes, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great song and very timely, given the pandemic, when a lot of people are away from their families and friends, so they can't see them. Very, very timely. So We listen to Sad Eyes next. Who wants to lead us into the song?
Go on, Carl.
Go on, Sid.
No, go on, Carl.
No, go on. Okay. So this is Sad Eyes by ourselves, The Shop Window, and this came out on the 27th of November, and hope it reminds you of family and special people in your lives. They're important.
Well, we're going to give it a listen right now. Sad Eyes up next. Will the new release Out of Reach have the same The Shop Window sound or be different?
No, I think we're very much still in the same vein. Once we kind of our sound was once we kind of hit upon the sound that we loved about a year or so ago, it's like let's use this, continue with it. I mean, it's a lot faster and than Sad Eyes, and it's a bit of a hip swinger and foot tapper. And lyrically it's different, but it's very much a kind of 80s new wave post punk kind of vibe to this track. Actually, the new one, and it's a lot faster. But I think people who enjoyed Sad Eyes will still enjoy the sound of this, in the fact that it's got that kind of jangle and similar era of music influence.
What was the most challenging aspect to releasing this album?
Trying to be in a room at the same time.
Well, yeah, we had to, so the album will be out. The album will be out in April of next year. And the most challenging thing was that we had rehearsed up to record and we were ready to go in February, and then COVID hit and lockdown hit. And then we could no longer get into a room and rehearse. So we managed to get set up so everyone could rehearse at home to the tracks that we were going to record, supposedly in May, which we had to cancel. And then there was a respite in the UK around sort of June, July, where we were actually able to get into the studio for a couple of weeks and record it. But the studio rules with COVID were that there were only two people allowed in the studio at any one time. So I basically used the backing tracks from the demos for our drummer to record his drums to, first off. And then Martin, our bass player, came in and recorded to the drums and the guide vocals and guitars from the demos. And I was kind of present throughout, just trying to steer the guys in the band through this process of not actually being able to go in there together at any one time. And then I did guitars and vocals, and then Sid came and did his harmonies and stuff. And and then I basically sat with our producer mix engineer for probably a week, kind of mixing the tracks and getting them to where we wanted to. And it actually worked out really well though, because we had rehearsed up very well as a band before lockdown, and we were constantly rehearsing at home to our demos we'd been recording together. And so we were very well prepped.
That was the key to it, wasn't it? It was because we had the demos tight, because we haven't actually all been in the same room since probably
for a long time.
February, January.
Yeah.
So,
but we knew exactly what we needed to do,
Yeah.
and we're speaking about it daily. And, it was just preparation that made it what it is.
So since February, y'all been completely remote from each other, right?
Pretty much.
apart from going into the studio in June, but even then I only saw you.
Wow.
Yeah, you only saw me, and I was in there the whole time. So I saw Phil, the drummer, for 2 or 3 days to get his drums down, and then Martin, the bass player. Then I did my stuff, and then Sid came down, and then I stayed on for a week with the producer, mix engineer, and that was kind of it. We were never in the room. We were never in the same place all together, were we? For the recording of the album.
No.
Well, despite the pandemic restrictions, your band still put out splendid music. Out of Reach will be available on vinyl. This is something I see growing. I've seen other artists going to the vinyl format this year. Why vinyl for this release?
I think personally for me, I've always been a massive vinyl collector from early age, and even when sort of CDs took over, I was still interested in vinyl. And then when, digital format MP3 took over, I still loved vinyl. And with vinyl coming back in such a big way, probably like 10 years ago or 15 years ago even, it's just made me even more determined to, the band to have a vinyl release. It's just such a special thing. And also it's like bands will make money off of physical releases. They don't make money off of Spotify, and it's such a, like, having a vinyl record is like such a personal experience, holding that, experiencing the artwork, reading the inner sleeves, holding the record. You're sucked into the world of the band as well. You don't get that with a file.
No.
Well, Out of Reach official release is today, January 29th. Let's chat about it because it's coming up next.
Sid, do you want to start that one?
Yeah, I mean, Out of Reach. It's an interesting one because it's a song that's kind of Carl wrote since lockdown, but it's not about lockdown, but it's one that's come out of that whole period. But it's a piece of high energy, and it's kind of addressing those moments when at any time in your life you can feel that you're trapped in a bubble, basically, and kind of those days when you might find yourself lying on a bed staring at a ceiling trying to work out what you really want when everything else is going on outside as normal. I suppose we talk about it as being like an epiphany moment. And actually, one thing I think probably a lot of people may have got from the last 10 months is kind of perhaps figuring out that maybe the things you really want, you actually already do have. So Out of Reach it's a song that should be able to fit into any time, but is also a product of where we are. And but it's when Carl sent me the first demo for it, it just straight away hit me as one of those songs. It was just an earworm, and there's a great energy to it. I think the video that we've got going with it really works so well with the song as well. What would you say, Carl?
I think you've summed it up perfectly, actually.
Oh, that's all right. So excited about it.
Well, thank you for that explanation about the song. It's a great song. And we're going to listen to Out of Reach right now. Well, that was awesome. So, in terms of the artwork for the project, are you creating the artwork yourself, or are you having somebody else do that?
like Sid's been kind of leading the artwork stuff, and we've sort of been doing it together with a friend of ours who's kind of like the silent fifth member, and he does all our videos actually. So he's been kind of doing the finer tuning once Sid has put something together, and I sort of steer Sid, and then he comes up with something, and then we give it to our friend to fine tune the end result, really.
Well, we've talked about Sad Eyes and Out of Reach. You also have an album coming out in the next 6 months. What else is on your horizon?
So we've got Sad Eyes, which came out 27th of November. Very poignant song, very personal to me. But obviously the band helped make it a bit more magical, that one. And it works so well at Christmas because we all, so many of us are not going to see those people we love at Christmas due to the current world circumstances. And I think it makes it hit home to people more so because of that. Following that, we've got our next release, which is coming out on 7-inch vinyl through a very cool independent label in the UK called Spin Out Nuggets. They have some awesome bands on there. And they're great. They're really great. And they love what we do and got involved. And we're so happy about that. And so that will be coming out. Out of Reach will be coming out 29th of January. And it's actually going to have a previous song that we released digitally that went down well called Evacuate on the flip side. So on the other side of that is going to be Evacuate. And then following on from that, we have our album coming in April. Again through Spin Out Nuggets, so we'll get a vinyl release, very limited edition, so get in there quick, people.
Yeah.
And to sum it up, really, we can't wait to go out and gig properly to an audience that feels safe and happy to be in that environment, enjoying themselves, and we can promote our music again properly to a live audience. That's something that we really can't wait for 2021. And let's hope that happens when the vaccines start doing their thing and it's safe for people to live again properly.
Yeah, definitely. Have anything to add, Sid?
I think, Carl, you just really hit that on the head, to be honest. I think that absolutely sums up everything. And, kind of getting it out to actually play to people would be a really nice thing.
Well, I know the band is active on social media. Carl, Sid, can you tell us where to find the pre-release so we can order that album, follow your music, download, stream? Okay,
so we're probably most active socially on Twitter, but we do have Instagram, Facebook. For pre-orders of the 7-inch single and for the album, it will be best to go to Bandcamp, our Bandcamp page, or to Spin Out Nuggets Direct to pick up pre-orders for the single. And then, just keep tuned for news on the album for a month or so after that.
Well, Carl, Sid, I really enjoyed my time with you guys on the show. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and getting to know you guys in Shop Window as a band was incredibly awesome. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shay. Thank you so much for having us.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.
Well, that was fun. I love that band. Be sure to go on to Bandcamp, the Shop Window. The 7-inch vinyl is out now for pre-order, so make sure you go there. Thank y'all out there for tuning in. Our next episode is February the 2nd. Our guest is indie folk songwriter Ali Aslam. He is based in Brooklyn, New York. On the show, Ali gets real about his debut album, The Last American. The Last American is an acoustic collage of stories about growing up straddling the Pakistani culture of his family and the American culture of his peers. Any child of an immigrant, or anyone who has ever felt they don't quite belong for any reason, will relate to this show. So tune in, catch you at the pod on February the 2nd. Subscribe feeds are at thebuzzerpod.com. Cheers.